Some of you might be looking around the room and see familiar faces, and a few of you might see some folks you've never met. So what I want to do is give everyone just a really small amount of time to think about some things that we want to talk more about today during town hall, and then a little bit of time to share with other folks in this room. And I have a particular prompt for that. So I want everyone to have maybe like a phone or a notepad or something that you can write down on. I'll give you 60 seconds, and I want you to think about something in particular. And then after that 60 seconds and you've thought about that prompt, I'll give you something else to think about and put down on a piece of paper. And then we'll give you an opportunity to share, and we'll bring it all back here and share with each other. Cool? So what I'm going to do is explain a little bit about why we're doing this. We have been a community for almost 12 years. If you are a new member of Indy Hall, you're joining something that's been running for a really long time. If you've been here for a really long time, it might be a long time since you thought about that. But we're up and running for almost 12 years, which is incredible. And we like to be thinking about the things that make this place special and why we all come here every single day and what's special about that experience. So I've been thinking about one thing in particular, which is discovering something. And when you come to Indy Hall and you talk to other people, you learn things about them. You learn things about what they used to do in their life before they came to Indy Hall, what they're working on now, what they do when they're not here. Those discoveries are meaningful to me. I discover a lot of things about a lot of you when I spend my time here. So I want everyone to take 1 minute, just 60 seconds, quietly to yourself, think about or write down if you would like to, something that you discovered about someone else in the Indy Hall community recently. I'm going to start a timer, and 60 seconds starts now. I'll explain a little more. That could be a hobby, a hidden talent, a career path someone once had, dreams, ambitions someone has now, projects they're working on that you didn't know about. Anything that you've discovered about someone here in our community or through our community. Let's say the past month, weeks. So about 10 seconds to write some things down, and then we'll wrap. And that's time. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult. So there's one more step to this. You're thinking about things that you've discovered about other people while you've been here. The second thing that I want you to do is take another minute, just 60 seconds, and think about something here at Indy Hall that you would like to improve. There's something that you would like to see improve. Maybe it's an event that you would like to see happening again. Maybe it's a brand new event that you would like to see happen for the first time. Maybe it's a new feature, amenity, modification to add to Indy Hall. Think about something that you would like to improve about Indy Hall and about the community. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to jot those ideas down. That could be something that you want to fix or modify, make better, or invent. Some improvements. Home improvements. About 10 seconds. All right, you can wrap up your thoughts. That is enough uncomfortable silence for me. So now we're going to have you talk to one another. What I would love to have you do is pair with someone, maybe somebody that you haven't met before. Find somebody sitting near you that you haven't talked to before. And I'm going to give you another 60 seconds, just 1 minute, to share your responses from the first one, which would be something that you've discovered about someone else. So for the next 60 seconds, find someone, talk to that person, and tell them what you wrote down the first prompt.
I've talked to you, but I'm not going to talk to you anyway.
Okay.
So, something you discovered this week.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like asking me about like good cocktail bars.
This is going back a little ways, but Brian McElroy, I knew he had worked in the military. I did not know exactly what. Just knew that it wasn't like. I remember vaguely that it was something related to intelligence. He actually worked in counter warfare against basically going to not so much hackers, but like the dissemination of information.
All right, now with that person, talk about things you would like to see improved,
Like the dissemination of information in countries.
Share with that friend. Make sure you give your friend the opportunity to talk to you.
What I want to do, I guess what is common that I think frequently I have that I wish there was a little bit more research happening outside. Like a lot of stuff, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of energy, but now very low. It's like yeah, where it's really out. And I don't know why, I don't know the disconnect, I don't know. That's one thing.
Yeah.
I think like there's so much happening that it's working.
And wrap it up in the next 10 seconds.
And I feel like
there's so many things he's got doing. Getting a drink is easy. Plenty of things that are just as easy.
like a trip to the zoo or something.
Totally.
Yeah. Like I was talking to message rapper.
And that is time.
Afro workout thing here.
All right. So slowly come back. Wrap up your conversations. Hopefully you've met somebody that you haven't met before, or you've learned something about someone that you didn't know. And I'll start with an example. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this is I can't imagine that some things will happen when I come in here and I'll learn things about members when I come here. I learned last week, maybe, Tom Pierulli is a member here, and his brother worked on The Tick, the TV show for Amazon. And I asked, hey, is he still working on the show? And he said, no, he's moved on to The Karate Kid. So an Indy Hall member's family member is working on the new Karate Kid. Indy Hall is amazing. And I wonder if anyone would like to share on behalf of what they learned from someone they talked to. Anybody want to tell me something that someone else discovered? All right. No. You know what we say at Indy Hall? We say, please talk, Adam is drowning.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
Megan was a student of our own Sam Abrams at FIT, and she serves at National Mechanics, and she's here to find out what Indy Hall is all about.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Welcome, Megan. I'm going to write things down as we cover them, not with names, to protect the innocent. Anybody else want to share something they learned?
Okay.
Go ahead, Allie.
So I learned from Kevin that he learned that Ben Levine has a business called Ninja Goat and butter coffee that started with a side hustle and now is a full-time legit thing. It sounds really cool, and I've never tried butter coffee before. Try it out.
Oh, Ben will indulge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good for babies.
I like awesome.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to share on
I
behalf
guess I'll
of
ride the Ben train. So I was telling Alex that I had a lovely lovely conversation because Ben is also a major cocktail bar and cocktail enjoying aficionado. And so we were enjoying talking about our favorite bars here, and I passed on some referrals for New York. So, and not just, you know, booze, but like the artistry and enjoyment. So.
Nice.
Hey, you can make a t-shirt out of that. Go for it.
That's about aficionados. Anyone else want to share? Go ahead.
I learned that Brendan's been recording this podcast
Yeah, that's true. Cool. All right, how about things we want to improve, change, fix, modify?
I have some online folks.
Yeah.
Josh Hodro says, more Scotch night and those types of events, the more social, not work things are why at Indy Hall. Meg Winholm says, 2 ideas. The city is pushing places to go zero waste and offers a sustainable tax credit. So she would love to have that work for us.
Tell me more.
And she says working towards becoming a B Corp, which I'll be honest, I don't know what that means.
Environment, yeah, what does that mean? You want to indulge us?
It's kind of a long paper. It's you can be a certified B Corp where you meet certain standards for social and environmental responsibility. You have to go through a certification to get it, but it's really awesome. Let's do that. Explain more about it.
That's awesome. Anybody else want to share?
Yes, I have to leave.
Yes.
And it's my own idea.
Okay.
So you've been warned. So I think we should put something on the wall and call it snail brain. And what you do is you take an actual photo and you put it there. And then other people take markers and write comments and their name.
I see.
Sounds
It's like Instagram, but slow. I get it.
I'm ready now.
We put like VHS tapes on there too.
Sure.
No, go Betamax. Go Betamax.
Kevin, I saw your hand.
I can offer more suggestions like Scotch night. I think I'm avoid the beer fridge, take one, leave one, some kind of fairness over the past few months. So what if we had like beer tasting night? They're gonna bring us like maybe a 6-pack or so, and then it's like Scotch night, we'll have leftovers. So that's a side goal, and we're doing that every now and then. Have the social event, not an anonymous.
Yeah.
People event.
Totally.
Cool.
Actually got Sam now.
Sam?
Yeah. Drew Marshall says, training and development to be part of the Indy Hall experience so we might learn from each other on a more regular basis. I know I'd like to have more personal and professional development opportunities, and they're hard to create by myself. And Catherine Stewart agrees and would love training on the podcasting equipment related. And Lydia would like to have a reboot that includes remote members. Sometimes we also want to shape up our membership, but reboots right now seem more in-person focused.
I have a hand, Adam, when you're ready.
Yeah.
The new role that when Sam graduates and becomes a graduate student, I'd like to discuss the scope of that role and maybe learning and development as the program as a formal piece of that role.
Alex, you have one?
Jen had suggested when we were chatting before about figuring out what it takes to create successful coordinated efforts to do stuff together that's not physically at Indy Hall. So whether it's like an outing to the zoo or going to see a show or whatever it is, it seems easier to coordinate people at this place, but then we stay here. Why don't we go do stuff in this awesome city that we share as well?
The wrestling thing.
Like Michael's wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to go ahead and just give a shameless plug?
Yeah, so I work for a wrestling company called Shakara, and we do, once a month, we do short 1-hour shows. We use studio audience for that. So you're all more than welcome. I'll post about it. Next one is 3 Saturdays from now. But yeah, there's a post on Where is it? It's in the Northeast. Near all the countries.
Ben?
I'll do the lame, purely logistical one. I really wish there was Ethernet in every single phone booth and conference room because video calls basically require it.
Yeah.
That's putting a little +1, and I'm writing snaps. Alicia?
Yeah, also logistic thing, even though I've been here for 2 years, sometimes when I walk in, it still seems overwhelming, like I'm interrupting people at work. So for new people who are either dropping by for a tour or it's your first day at Indy Hall, maybe your faces, the 3 of you, somewhere on the wall that's like, look for one of these people and they will help you. Sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating to just walk into an open space and not know who to look for. Also, just in case the email that you guys send, it's like, welcome to Sam or something.
That's a great idea. And maybe a few more. Anybody else? Bill?
At a place I used to work, once every 6 months or so, people would get together and just do you'd have some breaks and do a sit down reading of the play, people taking all the different parts. That could be you could do something like that in here that might be fun.
Speaking of fun, I guess.
So we would put on a play together?
Well, you could just be,
Sit around.
maybe some light props, but
Actually, that could be combined with the
Yeah.
Light props. You have a light prop trunk by chance?
I say we make our own drunk history one day.
I'm writing community. Cool. I think there was one more. Alex?
So I started this a little bit over email, but hi, I'm here with my whole family, and I am a new member and a working breastfeeding mom, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot, but I'd like to make some changes to the lactation space as it stands, and just make that more welcoming to people like me, but also just have a conversation about what it's like to be a working parent and how to support working parents as well. I think it's part of the reason why I'm here is but I want to talk about that because a lot of people don't know what it is.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other parents who co-signed that one? You got the Tim co-signed and the Ben co-signed. And yeah, you're by props. Was there another hand? Go ahead, Embry.
Along a similar line, I'm interested in starting events and regular outings for women at the hall so that we create more community for women specifically for here on a regular basis, whether that's a lunch or the class or brunch or so if you're interested in that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So all of this is really good. And this is a lot of the purpose for why we're here. All of these things are important to us now. They're important to the people in the room. But these are the kinds of things that we want to think about as we start rolling forward with some new plans. If you've been on Group Buzz or check your inbox recently, you may know that some things are going to be happening here at Indy Hall in the next couple of months. And Indy Hall is hiring. So we want to know what's important to you, what we want to work together on as a community. We also want to keep that stuff in mind as we think about who we will bring into a really special role to help lead our community forward. Alex, do you want to throw it to some member suggestions for things to talk about, or to the
Yeah, let's do that, because I know that, Sam, you had a couple of things that were contributed as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Troy messaged us literally an hour ago. He is really invested in figuring out more recycling and compost here. We have both of those things, but he's noticed lots of stuff in the trash that could be in other places. This goes amazingly with becoming a B Corp and looking for zero waste. And so he's going to post, I think, on Group Buzz on Monday when he's back. But that's he really wants to make this better and more sustainable, and we're invested in doing that thing. Pam, who is online, but I'll see if she wants to add to anything I'm going to say, was also curious about when another reboot would be. If you're not familiar, reboot is when we take a long weekend, Friday through Sunday. We pack everything up, kind of take everything apart. So the desk formation and the layout we have. We do some deep cleaning. We do some projects around here that folks want to see. Things like running the Ethernet would be really great for a reboot weekend, or like any weekend, but that's an option. And it's primarily a great chance to do a project to make this place better and make this community better with other community members. That's the great part. The side effect is also that we put things back together in a different way. So it freshens things up and also makes it nice and easy to find a new spot and a fresh perspective. And it's been a spring cleaning sort of thing, but we also did one, it feels recently, but it probably was only just this summer, to open up our expansion space. So part of her question for that was also about switching spots around to seeing what the options are for that. And that connects really well to Lydia's request for a remote reboot, which I'd love to figure out a way to make that happen and what that would look like and what would be beneficial.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Sam.
The idea of a remote reboot, so the goal being sort of like some communal caretaking of an online space.
Okay, they can hear me.
We desperately need to redo our website, both the public-facing website, which if you'll go to and notice, not only are there broken images, but there are lots of images from a space we haven't been in for about a year and a half. Mariah, here?
Hello.
Hi, Mariah. So I don't know if you wanted to mention a little bit about the general goal of us getting together to work on that, but.
So I think the goal of the website is to have a design now. When I put like a new, I have this like working model of floor mappers in here. So just like know where everything is, like know noise illustrations, like what the scale is, what the combination is. And we're going to make it a WordPress blog that's functionally integrated, and anyone wants to go down with that. We chat afterwards about like blocking out time on it.
Yeah, I almost think, I mean, if we the reboot is like like a real world hackathon where we're hackathoning a weekend of stuff on physical Indie Hall, but there's no reason why we can't do that on online stuff, whether that's the website. Also, there's been some conversation around like hacking on new technology or tools or things to make things better, more accessible online as well. So we can have a separate brainstorm around what are some of the things in our online space we want to make better, whether that's writing better documentation, the comment about onboarding and what experience people have when they come in. That's a mix of online and off. There's a lot of things we do in this space that we could do a better job online. So I think all those things absolutely tie together.
Mm-hmm. Also along those lines, something I want to bring up, Mariah is chatting about the website with Alex. The things that we're talking about here today hopefully are things that all of us can do together that aren't solely dependent on Alex or myself or Sam. We have the spirit of JFDI at Indie Hall, and I think we could brush up on a little bit of it and do a lot of things together and share the ideas that we have with one another and just go for it. We don't have to create systems to stand in the way for us, and we can just make stuff immediately. As part of that, something that we say often with Town Hall, everything we're talking about here today is only the beginning of a conversation, and we hope that this conversation and the subjects that we come up with, the things we want to do and talk about today, continue after we leave this room, after we leave this space, tomorrow, and forward. Does anybody have anything else that they want to bring up as something that you want to represent, talk about, bring up to the table for the rest of the community? Improvements, enhancements, comments about the website?
Something on your mind?
Pam apparently started talking while I was talking. So I'm proxying. Going back to the reboot thing, her asking was mostly shuffling desks a question. Because it's, of course, easier to shuffle desks when everybody does it and do a refresh, especially if you want to move in or out of the quiet zone into talking space, vice versa. And it would be cool if there were more black desks, because that permeability has been the top, I guess. That was my interpretation of that part. She didn't say that. It's all in Slack. You all see it.
So Pam is saying, in lieu of a reboot, should some desk shuffling could happen, or?
Could be cool.
The thing I'm hearing is if there's a limited number of full-time desks to move into, which I think we're not totally full, but we're pretty darn close. So you kind of got to wait for something to free up, and then I know I've seen desks that are popular spots not last very long. So maybe we should work on our layout to free up more of the spots and make it easier for folks to try out new spots, sit next to new people, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I have one that's sort of extracurricular. I think this would go along with whomever brought up doing more social events. I think that came in remotely, more events like Scotch Night, or social events, things that we do here at Indy Hall. I was at National Mechanics recently, I'm Megan, and I realized that I don't know anybody who works there anymore. And Indy Hall was born out of National Mechanics, and it was a place that we would just go always. It was our first home and our second home in so many ways. And I would love to get a contingent of people who would want to go to local bars, restaurants, happy hours more reliably. I think we used to have like a Cheers effect. You just knew for a fact somebody was going to be at National Mechanics, so you just show up and you would always find somebody familiar. And I would love to do more of that, if for no other reason, because I'm so disconnected from a lot of the places where I used to hang out all the time. Yeah. I'd love to go there by myself, y'all, but that's lonely. Please hang out with me is basically my suggestion.
Yeah, I'll share an idea that Nicole Forrester's not here, is she?
No.
No. Okay. So Nicole and myself and Jess Mason were having dinner and drinks after work one day. So it does happen, but we should do it more. And she dropped a pretty awesome idea that we've been sort of kicking around, and we're going to have more to share in the next couple of weeks, and we sort of want to officially make a whole bunch of noise about it during Tech Week. How many people have heard of Startup Weekend? Go ahead. Right. So Startup Weekend, for those who aren't familiar, is this sort of social event. You get together, you sign up, people pitch ideas, and you'll form teams around the ideas, and then spend the weekend sort of hacking around the launch of what would hypothetically be a business, but essentially never is. And very rarely do projects continue on past that weekend. The best part of it, honestly, is that you learn how to work together. You may learn some new skills, some new tools, but it's really more about building those social bonds while working on something. And so she started taking on something that I then coined Finish Up Weekend, where you actually finish the shit that you set out to start, whether that's a business or otherwise, because we all have stuff that we know is important, whether it's for our jobs, for our business, whatever it might be, but the only thing we haven't really done is carve out a day or two, or whatever it might be, to do it, and using a little bit of social pressure of, okay, I actually said I'm going to be here, I'm going to be around other people that are here to accomplish a goal for the weekend, that we actually do it. And then we went crazy and thought, what if we also add in an element of having a couple of experts as mentors around, where if you're stuck on something, you don't have to waste time. Hey, can you look at my copywriting? Hey, can you help me solve this code problem? Hey, I'm having trouble deploying this website. It doesn't have to be a tech thing. This can be anything. And having people be able to turn to an expert and get help in 5 seconds. And then we went completely crazy and said, what if we built in breaks, where the breaks weren't just to socialize, but were actually to learn something and be inspired. And we'd have a couple of people from our community beyond Indy Hall come and do like a little 5 or 10 minute lightning talk to get you fired up, so that when you get back into work, you're ready to rock and roll. So Finish Up Weekend is coming in May. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll be hearing more about it, but I would love if people want to build, because obviously that was me and Nicole sort of improving back and forth. This thing's not done yet. We can keep going crazy if you want to. So bring more ideas. We're going to keep building this, and we'll have a website for people to start signing up for that in the next couple of weeks.
It sounds like you need a Finish Up Weekend to finish up that idea.
I literally said that today. I was like, the irony of how badly I need this.
And that also, that seems like that could be a really cool platform to integrate more conversations about training and development as part of Indy Hall experience all the time. That's great. Really. So I'll be honest with you, the floor is kind of open if people want to share some things. Alicia, go ahead.
2 things. For the happy hour or anything booze related, I would love options for non-booze. Any bars around the area that are good for mocktails or just not charging the normal one soda for people who maybe
are just not drinking for whatever reason.
Totally,
It's
yeah.
okay. I will drink anyone under the table, but I just want to make sure that there is an option for people.
That's what makes you so considerate.
Seriously. The second thing is I would love to see maybe in the revamped website idea a self-serve option for people. I'll take myself as an example. I've been a member and a non-member. I'm a member when I'm unemployed, not a member when I am. And I don't want to harass you guys for like paying every time I'm coming, but if there was like a cool self-serve option that I could just sign in, I can see like what my balance is, or I can like the day before I know that I'm gonna drop in like pay ahead or something like that, so it's less administrative work, I'm assuming, on your part, and just like I can have more control over when and when I'm gonna be here, pay, bring all that stuff up.
That'd be useful for the cases where you've got non-members coming in with that as well.
Yeah. I think our membership software, there is a way to do that, and I'll get in touch with you after this to see if we can figure it out. Because I know there's one of our members who's a basic member, every time he comes in for extra days, does it before we do it, and it always confuses the hell out of me because I'm used to do it. So I think there's a way to do that. Cool. Yeah.
To that end, so that means,
go ahead.
We can improve the knowledge sharing of what the system that we use, our administrative side, what we can do and how it can work for you, so you don't feel like you're ever putting anything on us, which you never are. But that would that is an obstacle. We don't want anybody to think that.
Josh Kodruff would also love a Slack bot that tells you that you're signed in and what your balance is. So if anybody can build a Slack bot,
That's got to go on the hackathon list. That's a great idea. I'll add one little piece to, I guess, a minor caveat. The tool we have now is better than it's ever been in terms of being able to enable that. I think that having a totally blind self-serve where people aren't coming through our introduction and onboarding process is, I'm interested in ways we can improve what we have, but I still want there to be a human contact rather than something coming straight off the website and being like, I bought a day at Indy Hall, so I'm coming into Indy Hall.
No,
You're talking about like once you're onboarded? Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
So I'm not going to go too deep on implementation details, but I do wish it was a little bit easier to help guests find people that are here to find. So like I today had a prospective client like I had never met that showed up really early, so I didn't even realize that the lost looking woman was like my lost looking woman. And I kind of wish that there was a way to be like, if I'm imagining like a board, like if you are here for Jarvis, you want to find Ben, he is sitting here. Like I know you already, or here's what he looks like, some kind of that. Sure. Because I know a lot of us do have folks show up that like aren't really sure. It gets handled well enough. Like it's not on fire, but I feel like that could maybe be a little bit smoother for people who are not members in any way. They're just guests in our space that are working.
Is that, and I want to counter the question, is that something where it would be useful to potentially create something that's easy to give to you, to give to your clients who are coming in addition, potentially in addition to, like, look out for this way, like we need a wayfinding thing in here no matter what. But some tool, because we don't really have something that's designed for a member to give a client other than to say, here's the address that's on the 3rd floor. Here's what to expect. We do that for our own onboarding, but not for yours.
I will say I like the idea. I'm always pessimistic about people actually reading things that are just from like an address location.
100% agree.
I love the idea though, and this is like, I would be very happy to have something like that.
Not either or.
Just broadly speaking, something to help, wayfinding, and help folks find their destination.
This very much feels familiar to the suggestion earlier about easier wayfinding when someone comes in for the first time for a tour or just visiting, photos of the people that you can talk to who will help you find your way. So
yeah, if I can second that, because I'm not tech, I actually give tours for a living, and the evening before, every single guest of any of my tours receive a personal introduction from me with my photograph, likely something that I'm wearing that will be distinctive, and where to specifically find me. So if you have a permanent desk, give kind of like, say like, hey, this is my photo, here's my cell phone number. If you can't find me, I usually sit in this section of the building. If not, ask someone, and I literally detail it out. I even give GPS coordinates, everything. you can't do that in this space, but maybe take that behavior of like, if you know you have an appointment, have kind of a template that you can say, hey, this is me, find me.
Could we do GPS coordinates? Would that help your guests?
So what actually just occurred to me, and this is
Yeah.
pure spitballing, but if there were like landmarks that you could reference, so like I think like,
Yeah.
where did you park your car? You can park your car in like section A. And
Like
you can
maybe
walk
like
into
happy
C
little
and see-
arrows hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know exactly what that could look like, but like, I don't know that I want to do this, but like, you can imagine like ABC on all the pillars, and be like, I sit near pillar D.
Or pillar banana.
Or pillar banana, yes.
Yes.
I don't want to live in a parking lot, I don't want to work, but like, all I'm getting at is I sit where I do in part because I want to have line of sight to the door in order to intercept lost-looking people who might be here to see me. And that's not the best reason to have chosen this.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
It's like one of those like restaurant pager systems, like a touch screen where it's just like, you know, someone's coming in. You know, your name's up there when they hit it.
Yeah. I was gonna say like a doorbell, and it just makes your phones buzz or something.
Sure.
Matt has a comment.
Oh, yeah, so, you know, I'm like the unofficial greeter of Indy Hall. I'm always been sitting on this desk, like, people are always walking like looking lost, and I'm maybe the only person who like consistently is going up to these new people. And not only do I like make a lot of new friends this way and like learn interesting things, but I just thought that was like really nice. That you like are like wandering around like you're lost, and immediately a nice like friendly person comes up and is like, hi, how are you doing? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
And I would encourage, you know, more people to do that. In the old space it was easier, because you had that like really narrow corridor. In this space, you like walk in, and so I don't know. I think that would be a really Indy Hall appropriate solution to this problem.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you, Matt, for doing that. That means a
Appreciate
lot.
I was about to say exactly what Matt said.
Yeah.
But I, especially being not a tech person, I really appreciate the person-to-person interaction. Speaking of face-to-face, yeah, I really appreciate that coming into the hall. I also, you know, I try to tell my visitors where I'm going to be, but I also like knowing someone to look out for them. Like, that's something special that you can do that other than in the office.
This is so great, by the way.
Let's be honest, it's really obvious when someone is coming in and they're looking for someone. Because you've never seen them before, they look like they're totally lost.
Yeah.
And I know people are noticing
Lost.
in this area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Cool. Anything else on anybody's mind?
Sweet merch.
Sweet merch?
Yes.
Yeah. I regret to inform everyone that the company that we've always ordered our hoodies and track jackets through has gone under. So we're looking for an alternative, a suitable alternative that can do our really nice hand-stitched hoodies and track jackets. We've got the hookup. I've talked to a couple of people who have some ideas about that. Mac and Dan and a few other folks. Thank you. If you have an idea of where we could get cool swag, let me know.
And
They have larger sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's larger.
To that end, you know, the hoodies are sort of a mark of history at Indy Hall. But I love when, especially when like new members start supporting them, it makes me feel really, really good. But if people have ideas for other kinds of, like, I don't want to just go stick in Indy Hall's logo on stuff, but if we can make stuff that makes you feel like I'm a part of Indy Hall, you know, other sayings or marks or designs or whatever, that makes you feel like you belong to something, I love to brainstorm that. And I mostly bring that up because today I got a text message from Phil Ives. Not all of you know who Phil Ives is, but he's been a member of Indy Hall for a long time. And he moved to LA last year, the year before, and is very sadly working at a pretty desolate corporate job. And he said, can you make Indy Hall like corporate badge lanyards for people who have to work in corporate jobs so they can be reminded that they've still got a little Indy Hall spirit in them? And he was kind of joking, but I also know Phil, he was kind of serious. So I thought it was actually remarkably thoughtful, which is special for Phil. But stuff like that is actually really kind of fun. Yeah. So we miss you, Phil.
This comes all the way back to when I first applied for this job, and I said we should make Indy pendants, Alex. Indy is a pendant, and it's thank you, Alicia. Yeah, so
he's been waiting for that laugher. It's like 7 years.
Yeah, almost 7 years.
I do the first time we do this.
Yeah, that's really bookends it. Definitely.
Everyone online is booing you.
Oh, yeah. Put that on my tombstone, Sam.
Everyone online is booing you.
We are at quarter till. I don't want to get too far along before we forget some important information. I think maybe this is a good enough time for you, Alex, to talk a little bit about what we have coming on next. Something I want to remind everyone about too. The document that I'm using to take some notes, I'm going to share that link with everyone. I'll put a little recap together in Group Buzz, and everyone can access this. This is a live document. We can add and embellish and edit ideas. Hopefully keep this thing going.
Sweet. Can we get a quick round of applause for Adam for facilitating this so far? And for Sam for playing proxy with our internet crew. Hi, internet crew. Thanks for tuning in.
Alex, can you take 2 steps forward? Sorry.
Yep, got it.
Sam, can you
we're such jerks to each other sometimes. This is phenomenal. This has been really, really great. Before I get into the topic that I kind of want to wrap today on, formats for a town hall. How many people is this your first town hall you're coming to? Okay, so a bunch of people. I don't think we've ever done a town hall that was quite like this. Everyone's a little bit different, always trying to make it better. I think we're going to learn some things from this. We'll build on it. We'll evolve it. If you have ideas, I think going into this one, the big difference, we didn't want it to be 45 minutes of us standing up here talking at you and then being like, well, what do you want to talk about? Want to make it more interactive. Want to try and build in activities, stuff that's going to spark dialogue. Like Adam said before, the goal is to start conversations that we've been kind of waiting for an excuse to start. That's really the biggest reason we do this, and then we can capture all that stuff and do as best as we can to turn it into action. So super open to ideas for how to improve this format, make it better, make it more accessible, make it accomplish those goals, or even maybe set some new goals for what we can do with a town hall type event. But yeah, so we're gonna wrap on this this news that Sam is going to grad school.
Yay!
When Sam, what was it, last summer that you told me about the program? Or were asking for recommendations? I'm reading through this program, and it's like somebody wrote a program after spending a year at Indy Hall and going, how do I create a curriculum based on the stuff that somebody would learn here, and then teach them how to turn it into teaching skills for an actual urban classroom. It's incredible. So I'm super excited to see what Sam does, taking the stuff that she's gotten really good at here, working with all of us, building this community, making this place feel warm and welcoming, and one of the goals is for someone that comes and joins this team is to leave Indy Hall better than it came. And I think we can all agree that Indy Hall is way better since Sam joined the team. So yes. Thank you, Sam. But with Sam leaving, that means we need some new blood. And a bunch of you probably saw the blog post that went out yesterday, the day before. We've got 30 some odd applications already, which is exciting and terrifying. And here's why. Every person that I've hired prior to this moment to work at Indy Hall was through a direct referral where I really only casually mentioned to folks that maybe even at a town hall or maybe just in conversations, coming up, we're going to be looking for somebody new. If you think of anybody that you think would be awesome here, let me know. And also handed it off to the person who was in that role and said, hey, if you know anybody who you think would get out of this something like what you got out of this, introduce me. And that worked really well. The downside to that, and the biggest one, is that really limited the pool of people that would find their way into this community, that would bring their own unique perspectives, experiences, and view, and in the same way that Sam made Indy Hall better in ways that really only Sam could. I'm hoping that the next person we get is someone who will look at this with fresh eyes and make Indy Hall's next version even better in the ways that no one but they could. But that means that we're sort of creating a hiring process that we've never really done before. And so one of the most interesting challenges that we have going forward is, if we've got 30 applications now, plan is to keep applications open through the end of next week. So there's people in your world, people that you know, people that you think you've watched Adam and Sam do what they do for the last several years, and you're like, I know somebody who would not just do an amazing job at that, but would bring something new and important to us, and they would really elevate Indy Hall in some way. encourage them to apply. And the application, if you haven't looked at it yet, or if you have and said, this is a weird application, it's sort of weird by design. And I want to really focus most of what I have left to say in the time. How are you doing?
You've got 10 minutes.
Okay. I want to talk about what the goal of this role is and why it's so different really from any other job. I spent a lot of time, so I'll be honest, we sort of stumbled into this realization, but I've had it supported by working with folks in other co-working spaces around the world who have either backed into similar realizations or have simply struggled to hire people that are great at the helm of a co-working space. The person whose job it is to run a co-working space, whose job it is to be here every day, is the only person who is here because they have to be, right? Every other person in Indy Hall is here by choice. They opted in to become a member. They've got their own goals they're moving forward on. They are the masters of their own destiny. And that includes people who have jobs, right? The people that have jobs and choose to be a part of Indy Hall chose that job for a reason, right? I think one of the things that we have in common as a culture here is we're people that want to do things our way, even if we don't know exactly what that looks like yet. And so to hire somebody who views the position of sort of steering Indy Hall, guiding Indy Hall, growing Indy Hall, making Indy Hall the better version of itself one day at a time, if that feels like a job to that person versus part of an aligned goal that also makes them better in some way, we end up with this thing that's kind of out of whack. And I see this more, I see it so much in other co-working spaces that I feel so grateful that we've managed to avoid it, that people sort of get stuck in a rut. It's, you know, I don't think that running a co-working space is a career. I think of it more as like a launch pad to figure out what it is they actually want to do. I don't expect the person who comes in here to know what that thing is. It's one of the biggest benefits to being here is get to watch, you know, any given day, 100 people doing different things in different ways and be like, that mixed with that and that other thing. I think that's for me. So because the role itself is, you know, there's a sense of responsibility in that I want someone who's, you know, going to be a professional, who's actually going to show up when they say they're going to show up. And this is a paid position. I'm going to pay you, and then there's benefits, and like this is not an unofficial role. And you know, anyone who's been in versions of this role in the past knows how far we've come even with that. But the way we find people is really important to me. So the application that people fill out today is less about things like your job experience, because to a degree I don't care. I care more about your outlook. I care more about where you see yourself going, and maybe the things that you feel are in the way. I care more about the person having an idea of, I want to go over there, and my hope is that the place that they want to go and the place that we sort of collectively want to go are directionally similar. So in addition to opening up the application process for the first time, I want to sort of open up the decision process for the first time as well. Truth be told, everyone we've hired has basically been my call. I've done a pretty good job so far, but I also feel like, you know, not just because I'm looking at 30 applications and what could easily be 100 in the next week, I want other people to look at people's applications, and I want to hear what they see. I want to hear what would be interesting about that person's outlook, that person's goals to you. Even if it was me, Adam, and Sam, we're still only 3 people, and we're 3 people that have one side of a perspective. We try as hard as we do to be members, we still see things with a particular bias. So here's how things are going to work going forward, and then I want to give my last 5 minutes or so to any questions. And again, beginning of a conversation at the end. Applications close at the end of next week. While those applications are coming in, we're going through for people that didn't even really try. And they're shortlisting on the no side of things, like a hard no, basically. If you didn't even try to fill out this form, that's a pretty strong indicator that you're not going to try very hard on the rest of the steps. Want to whittle this down to our yeses and our strong yeses, and then be able to share that with a group of members. So the first thing that I'm looking to the community for are people that really want to be an active part in looking over these applications with us and sharing your point of view, right? I'm hoping that's not going to be a list of 100. I'm hoping it's more like 50 or 60, or I don't know what it's going to be because we've never done this before. But I think we can also, divide and conquer a little bit. But I am looking for a group of people that are willing to put in a little bit of time to look over these with us, take some notes, share those notes with us. Based on what we get back from that, I want to be able to whittle down a hopeful shortlist, the basically top 15 or 20 candidates that we want to spend time with meeting in person. And that's where things I think can get really interesting, because it's another opportunity to figure out how to get people who have spent little to no time at Indy Hall to see what it is they've even applied to be a part of, and meet the people who they're going to be a part of a community with. And that's all of you and all the people online, all the people that couldn't make it tonight, right? I think I've made it clear that I don't have a particular rubric of a person that I'm looking for. I'm looking for more of that directional alignment, and then we kind of mold everything around it. So like Vanessa had a comment earlier about, can we bake more professional development and education into the role? Potentially. It's a thing that keeps coming up. And it's one of those things that is very directionally Indy Hall right now. And it's one of those things that I'm looking for. Is it a requirement? No. Would it be a benefit? Absolutely. Could it change the shape of the role? I don't see why not. But it really comes down to those conversations. So all that's a really long way to say I'm really excited. And I'm hopeful that there are people both in this room as well as online, and people who will be sort of getting the roundup from today that want to be a part of this process. People who have been through hiring processes that things were really amazing, I want to borrow inspiration. People that have been through hiring processes that are horrible and difficult and demeaning, I want to know what bullets to dodge, because I don't want to put anybody through hoops and make them feel like, man, these Indy Hall knuckleheads are really making me jump through hoops. This must be, like, I don't want this to be, I think it's going to be a competitive race for whomever we choose. But I don't want that to be taken out on the people who are applying. I want us to be smart and strategic. And as early as possible, welcome them in. Something else we talked about as a team, as part of our strategy, I don't want to have to say no to anybody in terms of them being a part of Indy Hall. I want to be able to offer them a position today, maybe in the future, and also maybe they can potentially work for other members of it. Like, there's lots of ways to be at Indy Hall besides this one particular role where you happen to get paid to take care of some responsibilities and grow. So I think there's way more ways this can go. So my hope is that folks we're even saying no to, it's not a hard no. It's we found somebody that was a perfect fit for where we want to go, but maybe here's something else we can do to help you, and be able to come together as a community. And look, if the worst case scenario here is we get 100 amazing people and have to pick one of them and then help 99 other people find other amazing opportunities in the city, that's incredible. That would be a huge win in my mind. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I also don't think it's that out of the realm of reality. I've been talking long enough. I've got 1 minute left. I'm going to go 2 minutes over, and if anybody has like a burning question based on what I said for the last 10 minutes or so, I'd love to be able to answer it in person, but know that my door is always open, in person, online. We can grab coffee. I'm learning this, and I want to learn it together with you. Cool. No questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Sam.
If I want to be someone that looks over applicants, what do we do?
Yes, great question, Sam. You're so good at this job. It's a real shame to lose you. So very easily you can come and speak to me. We're going to put something out on GroupBuzz before the end of this week. There'll be a more formal call so people can opt in. If you are going home tonight and being like, I definitely want to be part of that process, either come and talk to me, email me, hit me up on Slack. Hopefully by now there's enough places that tell you how to get a hold of me, and let me know. And even let me know what it is that excites you about that. I'm genuinely curious. My hope is that the crew that we have supporting that filter is representative of lots of different types of folks in our community, lots of different backgrounds. That can be people who've gone through different industries, different jobs, different careers, different stages of your career. The representation on that sort of selection support panel is really, really important to me. If you think of somebody in the community who wouldn't necessarily nominate themselves, but you think should be a part of that, come talk to me and we can figure out together how to talk to them. Because that's probably the biggest thing is for the folks who wouldn't, like, I want to make this easy for people, but if there's someone who you think their perspective would be really valuable in this, and you're not sure if they would necessarily nominate themselves, I'm pretty good at helping people volunteer for things, whatever that means. So yeah, I think that answers the question. Anything else? Timeline is probably important.
Yeah.
So, like I said, applications are open until the end of next week, and our goal is to do that whittling is pretty quickly. The goal is to have an offer extended and somebody, we know who they are coming in, starting at the end of April, beginning of May. So about 6 to 7 weeks or so, which is fast. But again, I've done this in way less time in the past. Sam's last day is on June 1st. So the goal is for that person to have a good amount of time working with Sam. Well, I guess one last thing I'll add. Both Sam and Adam have been great voices for this, but thinking about what we can do as a community to make somebody's experience getting familiar with this community really easy, really friendly, really valuable, and really productive. In the past, it's been a very throw you in the deep end kind of thing, and you'll learn. That's why I hired you. I trust you. But I think we can do a much better job than that, and that's something that I think is best done by doing it together. So open to brainstorming around that. We're creating something new together. Pretty stoked about it.
Also, Adam and I are around too, so if for some reason you want to reach out. Also, I'm not gone yet, so like the list we made.
Bye, Sam.
The list we made, I still would like to help make things in reality, or help you figure out how to make your thing happen, or help you figure out what a remote reboot looks like, or whatever else. And Adam and I are here to chat about this stuff too, in case you don't see Adam.
Totally. Cool. That's time.
A little bit over an hour. So thank you everybody for joining. I'll post a more formal recap probably in the morning with some notes about what we talked about at GroupUs. And in the meantime, in Slack General, I posted a link to the paper doc where I was taking notes tonight. Remember, Town Hall is just the beginning of our conversation. So hopefully we can keep a lot of this momentum going. Thanks, everybody.
That's right. It sounds like we just got to pick a date.